Vitality from playoffs.
I recall.
And get themselves in, right? If you remember who played in Vitality, it was Haru in the jungle.
Yes.
Haru, ex-jungler for X7. Maybe the scenario will repeat itself by XL pushing down to the lower bracket. Sorry, I mean
my tinfoil to make a little hat quickly to stick over my headset.
I need that whiteboard where it's like it's connecting all the clues together
yeah, exactly.
to try and make a
the
scenario.
Conspiracy is real. You have to believe me.
To bring everyone back to reality, the overall score between spring and summer between XL and X7 is a 3-1 to X7.
Oh, yeah.
XL were only able to pick one victory off them at the very beginning of summer split, and we've never seen a best-of series scenario between the two teams, which is why we keep reiterating how important it is. Ever since X7 joined the NLC, XL has been their rivals, and the fact that we get, hopefully, a bunch of games to celebrate that rivalry and hope for 5 of them is very eye-pleasing for everyone.
Absolutely is, and let's be real, it's a little bit difficult to work out what level these teams are at as well in some ways, because we know in summer, or in spring at least, X7 XL should have been coming in at an extraordinarily high level. In summer, big shifts up for XL. On the other side for X7, they've had some changes and they've had to climb through the lower bracket.
Yep.
What level are these teams at, especially considering XL had a pretty good run at Dusty, all things said and done?
Yeah, I think we only have a very small sample size of a best-of series for the side of XL, but I feel like their series versus Dusty showed a lot of development, especially coming from a 0-5 regular split end. And from the side of X7, we have 2 best-of scenarios where once they played Bifrost and the other one they ended up playing Astralis, and they pretty much demolished both the teams. 3-1 on one best-of-5, 3-0 on the other one. They're the only team to be able to 3-0 anyone in these playoffs now in summer, and they're looking as one of the more formidable opponents that XL can face together with Dusty.
Well, there's just so much to keep track of this, because X7, we're our spring champions, got to quarterfinals at the EU Masters. They were an indomitable team that looked like one of the potential favorites for the whole damn tournament. On the other side, XL, they haven't made EU Masters despite what should have been appearances since, what, summer or spring of last year?
Spring 2021 was the last time XL Academy made EU Masters. It was the Marcoon Advent train back then, 2021 spring, where they made it all the way to finals to only get stopped by Carmen Corp.
Rough stuff.
Ever since then, they've not even qualified. Summer 2021, spring 2022, unfortunately cut short on their tracks in the playoffs race in the NLC, and right now they're getting the chance. Now, of course, for both of these teams, as we were talking a little bit in the pre-show as well, there was a very interesting conversation about which team would it benefit to go through the play-ins a little bit more. And I think we obviously need to celebrate whoever goes straight into the main stage, because the huge showing, so many eyes are seeing, LEC scouts are out there looking for the next player, the next big thing to put in their team. And it's very important for these guys to show up and show off at the main stage of EU Masters. But if we think of Bifrost in spring, we had them as our underdogs in the NLC going over to EU Masters. Not only did they manage to beat expectations, knocking off Barcelona in play-ins, but they also managed to make it all the way to the quarterfinals. So do you make it through play-ins? It seems like you're having a pretty successful run at EU Masters.
Of course, don't get me wrong, play-ins is definitely a bit of a pressure cooker. You either get...
two LFL teams, that's what I'm going to say.
Exactly. You burn out or you make the distance, it feels like, if you go in play-ins. And, it's definitely seen teams that have been, extraordinary teams. Like, I believe Vitality fell out of play-ins once or twice. We saw BDS Academy struggle in play-ins last time around as well. And of course, there's that world there. Bifrost do what they did and managed to make their way all the way to those quarterfinals and stuff. You can see how the runs went. Carmi Corp from play-ins all the way to winning the damn thing last split, right?
Sure.
So, there is definitely a certain thing where if you come through the play-ins reforged anew, you can be a very deadly competitor. But, of course, I think both teams would rather make the run and say, I'm in finals, I get to play for the NLC trophy, and then go to main stage, and then look to be one of the favorites going for the whole damn thing. You want everything. You don't want to necessarily look towards the bright side of losing, which I can understand is perhaps not there for the pride of everybody else.
Now, talking about everything, Viking wants pretty much everything out of Dan's jungle as well. The jungles are pretty same XP, pretty same when it comes to camps. You'll see that both supports have actually bundled up in this chicken area to make sure that their junglers actually secure this big chicken, and you'll see that this actually puts, if anything, Viking just a tiny bit behind, because now he has to run to his own camp, whilst here Dan is going to take his back and get back onto the map. Although Viking has already had his reset, which means this is why he wanted to fight, this is why he wanted to invade aggressively, had this
take that opportunity, exactly. Because you know there's going to be the reset there, so that slight lack of tempo that by going for the invade that doesn't quite work out does fall off a little. Sven's been chunked out a bit down that bottom.
Something that really interests me right here is that we have JDXL as this very early aggressive team where Dan is going to be ganking, you know, mid, bot, top at the same time, getting his laners ahead. I'm seeing a very Astralis approach here, if you will, because I feel like Astralis also changed their approach when it came to playing X7. They went more for a front-to-back composition, something that they can actually match the scaling that X7 have been putting in, and a Twitch does match the scale of a Zeri. The Yasuo, if anything, does match the scaling of a Vladimir. And if we look towards the top side of the map, I'd say that Gwen wins when it comes to scaling, just because he can play the team fights much better later on. Whilst for Chasey, he's going to have to be mechanically expert for these team fights to work on a Fiora.
In fairness,
so if anything,
he's pretty good at being mechanically excellent.
If anything, when it comes to ease of execution in the front to back, I feel like XL might have a slight edge on how they wanted to play the game.
Yeah, I mean, look, the one concern will be how easy is it to set up Morozq for those big last breaths, and that could get a little tricky because, of course, with Vladimir's pull, with Zeri playing a long way back, access to people you want to be hitting as a Yasuo could be a little tricky, but...
Luckily,
yes,
two members of JDXL on your screen, Dan and FGG, are very well equipped to actually set up the Yasuo for success. A pretty good handshake can get Morozq in on a very crucial target that has overextended. Dan, if he gets that flash Q onto a member and get that knockback, getting also Morozq in is going to be, of course, much more difficult with all the space that the Zeri likes to create together with the Lulu, together with the Vladimir, right? But if they do find these knockups, X7 are extremely squishy no matter where you look.
FGG and Dan have gone for this blue buff invade, but they're about to get collapsed on by 4 members. They need to be very afraid here. There'll be a smite fight that
level 6
wins, but there is a level 6, but Temp will have the immune, but he's going to actually not get the Sanguine pull off. Will go under now. He's one with the Hemo Blade and the turnaround. Pretty strong from X7. XL have Dan flash out, but Venza dies, and that invade is swiftly punished.
I actually thought this was going to go XL's way, because Venza had an absolutely fantastic flank on this rat. I'm not sure if he had actually bought any items, because he came straight from bot lane.
I think he was just on call.
I think he was just on that call on his inventory, which means not a lot of damage was managed to be done right there. But I think the concept right there is that Dan steals away the blue buff and gets level 6. And you don't expect it, because Wukong is level 5, suddenly Sejuani is level 6. They can turn this around. But due to the nature of how Vladimir also works, Temp soaked up all the initial burst, healed through that ultimate, healed through his entire Q with full rage, and ended up staying alive. And I think Venza right there with not much damage, bunching into 4 members, he was an easy target.
And we heard on the desk, we heard it from you as well, that Dan would be a big priority here for the side of XL to get things going on both these junglers. Those stats aren't necessarily phenomenal, but you can see Dan's participation in the early game. 80% on those first bloods. XL have lived and died by Dan's ability to get things going in the early game, and that's not a good sign for them. That play goes a bit wrong.
I think this is a loss about the junglers, because these are 2 of the best junglers that we have in the NLC, together with Linkas, of course, who's waiting in the finals.
Oh, yeah.
And you're wondering, okay, wait, if these guys are like 2 of the best 3 that you have, why are they always falling behind if they're that good? And that's because both of their teams heavily rely on their shadowing, on their ganking, on them being there. Although, for Viking, he has been doing the shadowing, he has been doing the hovering around his laners, but it's their laners that win through the 1v1s, therefore his kill participation is extremely low. On the other hand, if Dan doesn't pull the trigger, it feels like JDXL are just very inactive on the map. And talking about activity and inactivity...
Yeah, we're going to see a bit of a contest here, as 3v3 is definitely a potential. There's Gwen takes a bit of a vital proc there, but X7 do decide they don't want to fight this.
Very importantly, if you look on the map right here, FGG shows on the mid wave. The second he showed, there were pings from X7 to be careful. Therefore, they're going to throw their hands up and get off, but Chasey has no flash.
Right here, does do a very good job to immune that and dodges out on the Glacial Prison. That goes wild. And yeah, there was a bit of an X-Midi there. The #1 LCS jungler of all time, as voted by a lot of the LCS analysts, also notorious for whiffing a few of those surge ults.
Listen, man, it's the same thing with Jankos, right? He's been one of the best we've had in the when it comes to his needle space. We're taking a little bit of piss there.
He's actually quite good at this, but Viking's up here now to make sure his top laner can push in. But Chasey, I think, gets away with it a little there and does get to get the shove in.
I really love the fact that Viking actually moved towards the top side of the map to try and crush this wave, because Kreis barely doesn't have his TP up and available, which means that he will miss a couple of these creeps falling prey to the tower, and very crucially, that cannon. Now, if we look at why this is very important, as you will see, the difference between the laners is
huge.
20 CS top side of the map, 20 CS mid side of the map, 20 CS bot side of the map. So every single lane is falling behind individually, and that comes back to everything we've been talking about. X7 and Wise Viking. Not the most crucial part to X7 winning that early game is because they have such stellar individual laners that they get that win through just the laning phase. And farming now Tempt might get farmed by JDXL as a 3 members mid.
How good will the Sanguine pool be? Gets knocked up. There's the permafrost. It's not quite stacked. He's not got a flash. He's got nowhere to go. Viking goes in though, trying to turn this one around. The healing is good, but not good enough. Double knockup is in. Kasing is here, but it will be too little and a little too late.
Very crucial, 20 seconds until the Dragon is coming up, and Morosku has held on to his ult. Dan's ult is going to be coming back up. Kreis' teleport is going to be coming back up, and at this point, Chasey did use his ultimate towards the top side of the map. Now what Kreis can do is a speed running towards the bot side, go for that dragon fight, does it break out, and then TP back top. JDXL feel like there is no point. Tempt does not have teleport to join. It is going to be a 3 versus 4 to their advantage, so they're going to start the dragon nevertheless.
Yeah, that is well played by JDXL, especially because they were falling a surprising amount of gold behind, as you said, just off those lanes. Wait, what is going on? Dan needs to be very afraid. Gets burned out, he's into the bailout, but he'll take a dragon and dive for it. Attila picks up a kill on his Zeri.
I'm a little bit concerned there of what happened.
I don't know what.
FTG was in that bush, and we know how powerful Renata's auto attacks are, as her ultimate is, which he's going to have to use here if he wants to get out of the tower dive alive.
Polymorph is down there. The exhaust flashed away from Bender into the handshake. Viking, though, is not the one who's taking aggro. Kasing goes golden. Does have flash. Will he need to burn it? Likely will do. There's a wild growth afterwards being run down. Not quite falling until that Renata gets a final pistol shot.
Okay, I never thought I was going to say that FTG and Venzer would come out alive of a 3 versus 2 tower dive and actually take one down themselves. Very well done right there. FTG's ultimate was so well placed to stop any siege and separate Viking from his bot lane, meaning that Kasing was actually overexposed and ends up dying right there. Nevertheless, this tower dive took every single remaining summoner spell from the bot lane, as Morosku is fancying a little bit of a 1v1 between himself and...
Trying his best. There's a turnaround with the Hemoplague, and there's an empowered transfusion, so the damage turnaround should still be pretty okay.
Now, if you guys were wondering about who scales the most into the late game coming into Vladimir and Yasuo, one of the most dangerous and underestimated damage sources from Yasuo are his auto attacks, as we will go down towards the bot side of the map, and since FTG has to flash away from Viking, all eyes on FTG's Renata right here, because his ultimate is very crucial. They will exhaust the Wukong and stop the fight from happening by zoning Attila out with the hostile takeover, and Kasing, overexposed underneath the tower, ends up dying. Now, of course, we talked a lot about how powerful these Renata auto attacks are and how empowered they are on her kit, and therefore this is why they were also nerfed in the current pass that we're playing on.
And again, Kasing got a little unlucky that when Attila dropped aggro, he was the one that picked it up and not the Wukong. But either way, XL still feel very pleased to come away with that kill, and again, it keeps the game within touching distance in a very playable range, and it gets some assist gold onto the Twitch, who was having a bit of a difficult time earlier on. Of course, he is now down the flash, the exhaust, and that makes things a bit trickier. But as long as he can survive any potential reganks, things looking pretty okay for JDXL.
Now, the thing is, if we look all across the map, there's still that 20 CS deficit for the sort of JDXL. So again, X7 have been doing fantastically well through the laning phase. Now, if we can toggle a little bit to gold, I'd like to see what the mid lane difference is. And it's not that much, as you can see. It's about around the 400 mark. And that's due to the fact that a bunch of the turret platings, with the Rift Trail being put in the mid, went over towards Morosku's Yasuo. And with Yasuo, another thing that, again, people underestimate is the power of his auto attacks. Yes, his Q's hurt, his E's hurt, his ult hurts. But that champion can literally run you down with auto attacks. And when a champion champion does that much damage with auto attacks, they have more consistent damage, whilst Vladimir is more of a burst sustain mate. So when it comes to the 1 versus 1, Yasuo will have the upper hand in this matchup.
Yeah, and of course he's gone for the Ignite, not the Ghost or anything like that, which you sometimes see on the Vladimirs to add a little bit more of that mobility. So Attila, though, being jumped on, has a Spark Surge, so gets out of dodge relatively quickly, but it's a half of his HP bar that comes at the cost of it all.
And I wonder what this was done for, because usually when you will aggressively pop ultimate on your Twitch, you're usually looking for a play, you're usually maybe looking for a dragon, you're looking to push away your opponent laner, but right here, Attila and Kasika sitting very comfortably with full summoners and full HP, and Dan is going to walk into Viking.
Yeah, there's the handshake, goes a little wild. There's the knock-up with the Cyclone, but it's going to turn around, going to try and play one, but Tempest coming over, the Ignite's going down to Viking, but there's a Hemo Plague afterwards. Dan has to flash on out. Wild Growth is there, Viking goes berserk, but it's his clone. There's a dead Twitch on the other side. Tempt on the other one, gets Dan down into the Baylor. FGG ignited, trying to run away. Broscu is there, but cannot heal enough. Polymorphed, and he's not doing anything as a bunny rabbit. He is dead, and he is not a Monty Python character. There is no killer in that one.
JC.
Oh my god, the 1v1, the Grand Challenge throw down. The Ignite is on. The Ignite is parried. Gonna use that ultimate to get away from danger. My god, JC with the riposte of his life to block that needlework.
That looked very close for comfort for both, but you can see how much healing Cries gets through the Gwen ultimates. But can we just talk about that overextension from JDXL towards the bottom left that was immediately capitalized upon by X7? We said how comfortably Kasing and Attila were sitting on all of their summoner spells, all of their ultimates, and Venzer on this Twitch had just blown his to try and shove in that wave really quickly. Now, usually we say when this happens, there's a play happening, you want to go towards the dragon, you want to play a bit more aggressive, but right there, mid lane didn't have prio. Thank you for the replay observers right here, and Dan just walks into Viking, and even though, yes, you win kind of the 1v1 because you get to play aggressive towards the Wukong, Tempt walks in first, and Venzer walks through the bot side of the map, getting caught between 4 members of X7 right there. Huge misstep from the JDXL AD carry. Ends up dying instantly, doesn't have this ultimate as well to put down this huge damage before he dies.
Oh, the polymorphs have been so good onto this Yasuo. That's twice now that things like the ultimates have been interrupted. Viking has found Venz, who's still got no flash. Does not quite die. Stays alive, but what about a final order for someone like Chasey? Go lunge forward and put him into a bailout. He will not stay alive, and a riposte ensures the duelist from the top lane gets out of dodge.
Venzer seems a little bit lost for me in this game. He's walking through paths he shouldn't be taking. He's overextending. He doesn't exactly know how to join these fights, and I think Namera said it on the desk as well. How in the world does this Twitch play the team fights? There's flanks from Fiora, there's flanks from Wukong, there's flanks from Vladimir, and then you run towards a Zeri and a Lulu if you want to take the other side of the map to play through. And I think it's just very difficult for Venzer to actually find his foot, and if he doesn't, this is very difficult for JDXL to play the game. Now, luckily for them, they have 2 more sources of damage that are extremely high, the Yasuo and the Gwen. But that also demands for them to be in a pretty good position. Cries is in a good position for the 1v1 right here.
Ooh. Doing his best, good parry, but we'll hold on to that other half of the ultimate. But now the Grand Challenge comes down, we'll get the healing back, and Chasey can start trying to trade this one up with the ultimate advantage.
Hold on.
Twice hops over the wall. Maybe not going to go any further than that, and Chasey out of mana, just going to trade ultimate for ultimate. I got a little nervous there when the riposte didn't work out.
It's a nail biter. This 1 versus 1 is such a nail biter because it has to do with who uses the healing spells first is going to go down first. And since Cries actually opened up with his ultimate when these needles actually ended, and he had a full healing done on his HP bar, this is where Chasey knew the limits of how much he can heal with his champion while also putting down the damage and the ultimate. So really good stuff actually from both the top laners right here. I've actually expected a kill to go each way through the laning phase, but they have been playing on these limits. And again, for Gwen to join a team fight is much easier to play than for a Fiora, so Chasey's gonna have a few more challenges joining these team fights. This is why I'm saying that at least JDXL, you know, if that Twitch ends up going down, you've got the Yasuo, you've got the Gwen, you can salvage the fight. On the other hand side, you can very easily use the Fiora for side lane pressure.
Keep an eye on Kasing's inventory as well, because I think he's been very critical so far. He's just picked up a Mikhail's as well.
So, I had a talk with Kasing about this.
Did you?
When Mickey X picked Janna together with Draven in LEC, I asked him, why is the Janna so good? And he said, it's really good because you get to keep your laner safe later on in the fights, but the most crucial thing is that you build first that Mikhail's Crucible, and that means that you cannot catch your ADC off guard no matter what. And right here, playing into the Renata, into the Sejuani, you pretty much negate any CC thrown anyone's way.
Being able to immune the huge ticket ultimate that is that Glacial Prison is such a massive deal. So I completely agree with you there. And I think that's some wise words from both you and Kasing. Took me a second.
Well, mostly his.
Yeah, well, yes. But you still put them across fairly eloquently. I was trying to be nice. Come on. Either way, Tower on the top side does fall. Next 7 find themselves up about 5,000 gold, and they've got the 2-1 Dragon lead. It's a bit of a tricky position for JDXL to be in now.
That's a situation that I actually expected to go the other way. I was expecting Excel to possibly be ahead in the early game due to the fact that they had the Sejuani, the double melee laners as well, where you can play through, and then X7 win through still a team fighting. Now, saying this, the fact that a lot of these outer towers have gone down is diminishing a lot of the vision that Excel are going to have towards these river fights, and these river fights have definitely not been going Excel's way. Every time Excel has stepped up in the river, there have been multiple deaths for them, and X7 are more than happy to use their scaling, use the CC, use their frontal that they have with the Wukong and the Vladimir to actually force these fights in the river.
We're just going to do a quick check-in here.
Let's take a break.
Well. Absolutely, just briefly, everybody. Remember, we do have a hashtag NLC Pets to allow you to join in with us here as part of the community. And we've got a wonderful Sleeping Apollo here from Crawler's Gate. And do throw those pet pics at us. We love to see them. We love to share them where we can. Of course, while we have got a little bit of dead time between the next objectives, it's nice to check in with the fans at home.
Now, the thing is, we talked a lot about the glacial prison.
That's the ultimate, indeed it is.
Oh, very well done, Georgia.
I'm proud of you.
We talked a lot about the Sejuani ultimate, but another crucial spell is the Flash Q from Dan. If that hits onto Attila, then the Yasuo ultimate can follow up, then Handshake can follow up, and with
Viking
damage.
Speaking of flashes on jungler, Venza gets jumped on, but Viking gets pulled back with a handshake. And it keeps Venza alive, but the flash on the Twitch being down is a terror! As Temp just deleted, there's no way for Venza to go! He's gonna die, there's Mikhail's afterward, Temp's got wild growth as well! They're finally trying to turn it around. They'll get him, it's a 1-for-1 now. Oh, turn around! Roshu lands the ultimate, he's trying to run through the fights. Viking the back end of it gets knocked out, and they'll take a mid and a jungler. Brutal turnaround from JDXL after what looked like a clean pick onto the AD carry.
The rookie from JDXL stepping up, holding on to his ultimate. Hold on, because they're not done yet. The JDXL is going to be popped in the mid lane by X7.
JC
are pretty healthy.
Does have the parry, will immune the permafrost. Cries trying to run away. So low is everybody. Rusku gets a knockup, but he's been polymorphed. And JC on the Fiora will turn that one around as well.
Remember how we said that for Fiora, it's a little bit more difficult to play the front-to-back fights, but when everyone is blinking health bars and she's got her passive stacked onto everyone, she suddenly starts sneaking in that poke damage by hitting the vitals, then you can suddenly all in, and with the help of a Lulu right there buffing you and speeding you up, it's very crucial. Now again, Venza, they see blood, Viking dives in, flashes onto him, Renata very powerful, keeping Twitch alive, but Tempt overextends, dashes in, he gets exhausted on his ultimate, which means that not only does it not do a lot of damage, but he also gets slowed on his way out. And very crucially, Morosku, he's like, if you guys don't have any spells, I'll freaking do it myself. Hits Attila with a knockup, then follows up with the ultimate. Again, the rookie, very important there to get these ultimates even himself after every other spell has failed or is not on cooldown from JDXL. But X7 are on a very important win con, and that is the Ocean Soul, which will be coming up in 5 minutes.
Got to keep an eye on the only flash remaining on JDXL is now on Dan. Venza is in such a difficult position now in this game, and look, honestly,
you're like, I feel like Venzer's getting low-key bullied.
Of course he is.
Game.
Well, that's literally what Temp's job is here, is I dive on Venza and I try and get out with Pool. And the turnaround was good from XL that time. Maybe it'll be good enough here as well. Does get permafrosted, but it's got some healing. Has a Pool as well. The Hemoplague comes down. Try to trade this one out, and that'll be Cries getting Temp at what cost? There's the bailout. It'll be a solo laner for solo laner trade Attila over the wall, but he's getting ulted. Has to flash out the other side of it.
Oh, X7 played with milliseconds right there, because X7 knew what the Renata ultimate cooldown was. FTG didn't have it up for just a couple of seconds. That means they can bunch up into this choke point, get a bunch of damage down with their Vladimir, and trade top laners at this point. So very well done for XN. Had they fought a little bit later when that hostile takeover was up and available through that choke point, it could have meant really bad stuff. But let's keep a track always of summoners, because Attila's summoner just went down. He doesn't have his flash available right here. and neither does Venza. But in 3 minutes and 45 seconds, Venza will have his flash up and available, which is very important. Having all these flanks coming in from X7, and Attila doesn't have his, which means that with Dan's flash available, a flash Q is a big possibility to start a fight.
Absolutely is. And, you know, let's give some credit there as well. That was a nice turnaround, because literally, I think it was like, what, half a second before the Hemo Plague healing comes through. And Temp just gets to walk out of that.
Yep.
But Kryze gets that edge, and they are some nice edge fights. He has 2 in a row, honestly, where XL, despite being behind in this game, are doing a really good job to keep things in. Chasey's second item, as pointed out by George, will be the hull breaker as well. So less of a teamfight option, more of an ability to be a real obnoxious threat in the side lane.
So the thing that I've always said about Dusty and Riddle is the fact that they always have a split poster, but always the 4-man core units are very strong and undiveable. Right here you've got Wukong, Vladimir, Zeri and Lulu. All 4 of them very squishy. We've seen Dan pull the trigger on either Tempt or Viking, and they go down really, really fast when the rest of the members of XL are there. So for Chasey to actually commit into complete and utter split push and try to end and create pressure through there, I'd like to see what XL can actually do with the numbers advantage on the map.
I will point out that the item advantage makes things trickier, because Attila now has an infinity edge on Zeri, and the last time he got that, he turned around a nearly unstoppable
It's almost
Ari.
26 minutes in his
Exactly,
eyes.
it's pretty much there. The clock has ticked over. Attila's hit the 26-minute mark. If anybody follows the LCK, that Zeri certification is well and truly available to be signed. Kasing will cleanse that one, Captain Jack style, with the Mikhails, though.
Very clean. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the cooldown from Mikhails versus the cooldown from the Sejuani ultimate. It seems like the Sejuani ultimate is a little bit of a faster cooldown, so it will come up. So there is a window where you can reuse that, where that Mikhails Crucible is not up and available for Kasing.
The extendo beam there took about half of FGG's health bar, though. Ow!
Oh my god!
I am sorry for what you were all witnessing. That is probably illegal in a few states and a few more countries besides. We're on to the Baron, though, in a 2-man here for X7.
Pushing FTG and Venzer out of the map means that you're able to actually start the Baron. And it doesn't necessarily have to be you starting and finishing the Baron. You can actually force JDXL to walk into a choke point when you have a Vladimir level 15 for Temp, 2.5 items. JDXL seem to want to fight this. This Baron is not going down really fast.
They're down 3,000 down. It's going to be close, but I don't think it's going to be quite in time. He's in! He's in! He steals the Baron! Dan makes it work, and now X7 in the back of the pit have to turn this one around. It's a Hemo play, but I just don't think they've got enough. Temp goes golden. Shot down onto Viking on the other side. Twitch is dead. Tempt over the wall, and the back of XL are trapped in the pit. It's a gladiator arena, and of course the duelist will win on out. Chasey will punish the crimes of Dan. Stealing will lead to everyone else dying. Dan must run away. FGG burns out with a bailout on, and 2 members survive for JDXL. Beautiful, beautiful stuff from Dan.
I don't know if Morocco can actually get away from that. He will, but XL got out with broad daylight murder right there, flashing in, stealing Baron, getting away with it. It feels like X7 were trying to bait them in, and very well they could. 2.5 items on the Fiora, 2 items on your Vladimir with the stopwatch. You've got 3 items on Attila Zeri. This is where you want to start putting down these fights before the Twitch actually matches you in items and power spike. And X7, don't get me wrong, this for XL is just a bailout for the late game. And as you can see again, Dan flashes in. There was no smite up and available for Viking at that point, as I can see on the spectator mode. And I felt like the fact that Venza was there, he was actually zoning away Attila and Kasing very nicely with his ultimate, but the second Chase joins the fight. That Fiora is unstoppable. We have another one.
Welcome back to the Bloodbath, everybody. We've got Notion Drake live, and that would be a soul for X7.
Really quickly keeping track of what has been burned so far. There is no Renata ult, there is no Sejuani ult, very crucially, and only Lulu and Wukong have used theirs on the other side.
Soul is down. That's that for that. And of course, we've got a Vladimir already. Talk about healing gains. They're going to do what they can as a 3rd item in for Fiora. Chasey is hunting. He might have a hull breaker, but he still feels like he can dance around just like that. Lunges for another auto.
Do you know what's the difference between a Baron and a Soul?
No, do tell.
Well, Baron is temporary. Soul is forever.
That would almost be wise if you didn't just look at me and give me this, like, complete... I can't say that word, eating grin.
Did I give you like some high fashion like perfume?
That's it.
Advert.
Eau de Baron. Soul is forever. Baron is temporary.
Soul is forever. Eau de parfum.
coming new to the NLC merch store. Oh boy.
But coming back to this,
yes.
it is still a 3,000 to 4,000 lead for X7. It has not shrinked and it has not expanded ever since the very early game. But right now, having that Ocean Soul on champions that heal for so much, like Fiora, like Vladimir, like Zeri with that shield ball right there, is going to be really difficult for XL to actually find ways to burst them down. Now, I instantly looked at the inventory of XL and I'm like, you better have some anti-healing up in there. And there is a Morello sitting in FTG's pocket, and there are 2 Bramble Vests as well on sitting on Dan and Kraz on the top side of the map. But I don't think this will stop the Seeds, because look again at the inventories. 3 items on that Fiora, 2 items on the Wukong, 3 items very crucially. Hourglass completed on temp. He goes in, he waits for the ultimate, he waits for the healing, and then he's out of Hourglass full HP.
At least Venza just picked up the Runan's Hurricane, so he's got that additional ability for team fighting, but Cry's doing his best to turn this one around, but the Hemoplague is there, Dan's around. But this is a 2v4, and Temp should just heal right back up there. The Ignite comes down and cuts some of it. Remember, he's got Ocean Soul. He'll heal back up again pretty quickly, plus a few transfusions courtesy of his Q, and he'll be just all right. On the other side, Chasey gets to do that.
And that's exactly what we talked about. How can they make this Fiora work by having 4 members that are very squishy and very susceptible to getting ganked? And the reply right here is use Tempt, have him use his HP bar, have him use his ult on the other side of the map, absorb all the pressure. He doesn't die. He's got his Hourglass, he's got his pool, he's gonna get out. Oh!
Exhausted, but will cleanse his way away, has a Wild Growth as well. Doing his best with a spray and pray is Venza, and Flash for Flash is the trade. On the other side, Chasey has teleported. He's not roasted it. He's going in a 1v5 actually at this point. Riposte comes through. Cry stepping forward, doing his best to get on the Casing, but the turnaround starting to come through. His Tempt on the side, doing what he can. Cry dashing away with a skip and slash. But so much damage and no one's died. Viking is here. Could look for a Cyclone. The handshake prevents Tempt's easy access.
I propose we bring Wanda's beautiful paint job that said, what is going on? Because right here, Chasey is diving in 1 versus 5. Viking is on the flank. Attila used both of his summoners to get away from both of the summoners of Venza falling up for a kill. And I am so happy to see that both of these teams are not waiting for that late game. They say, screw this, they want blood, and this is what exactly we were anticipating when we said this is the biggest rivalry the NLC has in 2022, and this is the first best-of series we will get to see this year between these 2 teams, and it is delivering, even though you see the scorelines, you see 0-5 on the tweets, 1-2, 1-2, 2-2 on the side of XL. 5,000 gold deficit. They have been putting up the fights, but X7 have never let go of that gas pedal. But very importantly, again, now that Attila does not have his summons up and available, he has Kasing with Mikhails, and he also has his own Guardian Angel. They have to kill him twice.
He is so tricky to deal with. We've seen what Zeri's can do. I refer to the likes of a Zeri with a Lulu most recently. Upset got 1,800 plus DPM on it over in the LEC when Fnatic was fighting for playoffs. Attila set up to try and do the same in this game. Prison goes wide. That's a fairly big tool. What about Viking? Will they look to turn around as Tempt and Chasey are doing the 1-3-1. 1-3-1-ing has fallen off the meta just a little bit, but X7 are going back to it pretty successfully at this point.
It just works right here because look, they're putting pressure towards the bot side of the map. They know that Chasey has that teleport. I want to remind you that it was a miracle steal from Dan. From JDXL that took away that X7 Baron, but X7 won the fight. So right here, you've got 4 items onto your Zeri. You definitely want to be picking up these fights. Chasey level 17 as well. If XL walk into this choke point, they're walking into a 3.5 item Tempt on this Vladimir.
Here we go again, X7 pulling off the Baron, still down at 8,000. They keep it procced. Dan thinking about going back. They think it's a bait. They think it's a turnaround. Look at the other side, though. Chasey onto an inhibitor turret with Cries there. That ultimate goes wide. That's a massive deal. What are they going to do? It's already gone. Dan won't be able to get there to contest. He's recalling. He's gone back, and they have to try and get out of there as all the while. X7 this time, do not allow the flip to happen.
So the second that I think Cries pops his ultimate, XL have to actually call off that fight, and X7 knew this very well. The fact that Chasey is able to pull off Cries' ultimate without using his is huge. Remember what we said, if one champion uses their healing first, then the other one knows how much wiggle room they have for this 1 versus 1. And the Fiora right now is massively winning onto a side lane, having that whole breaker for that extra push underneath the towers. And right now we've got Elda, 35 seconds. The team that wins takes it all.
But X7.
When you're going into this fight with an 8k gold deficit, it's really difficult.
Eyes on Vikings inventory. He knows exactly what play's going up. He's got an Elixir of Wrath ready to proc. He knows exactly what happens. And XL have done their best to make sure they've still been within touching distance this game. It's just so hard. Now it's Chasey.
Real quickly, no carries have flash. And Chasey is still looking for for his first inhibitor tower, but no carries have flash. Attila, no flash. Venger, no flash. Whoever man goes down first ends up losing, the team fight.
Chasey ready to start dancing around with death. That item complete in his inventory, cries down to half HP, and Chasey ignores it all right now. Another big lunge, and she's got the ghost. He's going for the solo. Cries is gone, the tower is gone, and now the Elder Dragon is a must win. But you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. There's a Fiora in your base. They're going to try and start doing the fight, but X7 just need to hold them here. Venger's gone, has tempted the backline, exsanguinates them all. Vladimir with a double kill. Chasey in the base. The 4v4 is X7's. The 1v1 is X7's. And game 1 is X7's.
We wondered if Chasey was gonna be able to use that Fiora on the side lane. The answer is yes, and X7 are gonna be picking up the first game in the Legendary Series that we've been waiting for since spring.
We asked, they delivered. X7 with style managed to bring this game 1 to a close. XL made him work, but it was still a good, strong